All right, welcome to the Retro Game Club Podcast, Season 3, Episode 27, and this is Episode 99. I am Rob, and with me is someone who I recently discovered a prototype of, Hugh.
Yeah, the early version's better. There's much less cut content and less censorship.
I was going to say, version. Yeah, you were censored before you're ported over to America.
Yes, heavily censored.
At least your name is an error, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what's been happening? It's been so long since we've talked.
Yeah, I mean, nothing, no bad reasons for that, really. I mean, just kind of had an unplanned vacation. You know, in the past week, it was my 20th wedding anniversary. My wife and I were kind of debating whether or not we were going to go out of town or not. You know, I think a lot of people are probably still on the fence about travel and whatnot, or where to travel to even.
Yeah.
If you're going to. So we made some last minute plans. And I, of course, on the previous episode, was not going to talk about my house being like unattended for a week. So that's kind of the gist of it there. But a good time. You know, we haven't really gotten out in a while, and you know the next couple months are pretty crazy for us between work and kids and stuff. So there you go. Not a lot of gaming time. You know, so on your anniversary, you don't play a lot of video games. It turns out. I guess unless that's the one thing that brought you and your partner together, right?
Yeah, you'd go to an arcade or something like that.
Yeah, no, that would not work for us. So, I put on my notes here. Amico starting to have VCS vibes.
True.
Oh, yeah, so the Amico is what? It's delayed with no official explanation?
Again, yeah. And
yeah.
It was really the email they sent out. It was a while ago. I forget the exact wording, but the email was an announcement that it was delayed, but you really had to read into it to realize that.
Yeah. What else? So while I was researching a completely different topic for this show, I came across something called the Dreamcast Championships, which is really an interesting rabbit hole. So I guess there was something called the Dreamcast Championships in like 2000. This was some sort of Dreamcast tournament. It's not very well documented. And I can only really find one article about it. And 311 played. So already this sounds like the most year 2000 event ever. And then some article, like Wikipedia said, the second annual Dreamcast Championship was like August 2001. I'm like, there's no possible way that can be true. Like, the Dreamcast was discontinued at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, because basically it came out because I was looking for things that turned 20 this year. And like, nope, no chance. And finally, by going through, like, with the help of archive.org and going through a lot of old Sega web pages, there was a Dreamcast Championship that was like a tour, sort of like the Nintendo Championships in spring of 2001. But I can't find any evidence that actually went all the way through till August and how. I mean, I realize, like, if you're the marketing team, if you're the person at Sega producing the Dreamcast Championships, you're booking venues and stuff months in advance. So if the system gets discontinued, well, oh well, right?
Yeah.
You know, I went to, in 2000, in August 2000, I went to UK. And of course, the Dreamcast is discontinued at this point. But like 3/5 of the population was walking around in a Dreamcast jersey. Do you know why?
Why?
Sega sponsored the Arsenal.
Oh, wow. What a good move.
Who I've come to understand are a European football team.
Yes. That's about all I know about them, too.
Are they from London? Like, I assume the teams are regional. They weren't called the London Arsenal. So I don't, apologies to people who are fans. Right. You can make fun of us having a team called the Texas Texans here in America if you want. No one will take offense at that. That is a real football team for people outside of America. So I did buy a Dreamcast jersey while I was out there, because why wouldn't you?
That's great.
But it's the same kind of problem. Like, you sponsor a team and then you discontinue the system. So the team is still playing in jerseys that say Dreamcast. Yeah, after the system's dead, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this. Look, I'm surprised there isn't like a Theranos stadium or something, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw him playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas a bit. Kind kind of getting a little burnt out. So in some other article, I once used the phrase Breath of the Wild ruins everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it really kind of ruins San Andreas because a lot of the missions are like start on one side of the map, drive all the way to the other side of the map, pick someone up, drive them to like a completely different corner of the map, right? And if you fail in any way at all, you have to start over and you're driving for like 10 minutes again.
Yeah, it's like actually running errands.
It is. A lot of the missions are just pick this person up and drive them. Mm-hmm. And like, geez, Breath of the Wild, you can just warp to like any place you've ever visited.
Yeah. And usually you're up high and you could collide from there. Yeah.
Right. And there's no like, you can start a mission and then go do 100 other things and come back to it, right? Like the mission doesn't have like a fixed time that you have to complete it in. Mm-hmm. You can just go do whatever you want, right? And of course, in the old Grand Theft Auto games, once you start a mission, you know, if you don't meet some criteria or you let it run too long, you fail it. Mm-hmm. And of course, when the mission involves drive all the way to one side of the map and then back to the other side, you very often are going to run out of time.
How far do you think you are into it?
I still only have like half the city unlocked, I think.
Wow.
But it's big. That's the problem. These missions are so long, and they're like the one that I finally would like. I just like quit last night for a little while because, you know, the whole mission is like drive from one point of the map to another. It's basically an errand, right? Mm-hmm. But don't damage the car. And of course, it's one of these things where it's like there's 1 minute. You know, I'm like literally like I can see the finish of the mission up ahead, and then someone T-bones me. Like
nice.
That's it, done.
Yeah,
Walking away. Come back to it later. So I'm going to give it a couple of days off and see if I decide to go back to it. So that's a lot, but what have you been up to?
Oh, man. Yeah. You were on vacation, and then I was out of power for 4 days, so we didn't record in that time also. That was not a very pleasant experience, and especially on the hottest day of the year. And but yeah, then I was in Chicago for a few days for some family stuff. We decided to stay downtown, which I think was a good choice. People were really masked up and stuff like that, and you know, pretty good experience. You know, it's just a lot of the touristy stuff. And on Sunday, I decided to take my son to a comic book store that we had walked by a few times while we were there, or maybe it was Saturday, one of those days. Anyway, and it just happened to be free comic book day. So that was kind of fun, you know, some free Sonic comic books and stuff like that. So he got to get his first comic books at a pretty good store, and it was free. So while we were waiting outside Shed Aquarium, because you have to make reservations now because of occupancy limits and stuff like that, I had a cicada killer land on me. Do you know what this is?
It's like a giant hornet thing, right?
It is very giant, very big. I really thought it was one of those murder hornets, and somehow I kept my cool, but I didn't know. Apparently, those are in Michigan too. I had no idea anything like this existed in the Midwest. I mean, this thing was like an alien. Like the size of the palm of your hand. Yeah, just crazy, very meaty. But yeah, never seen one again. Or before that, hope I never see one again. And yeah, I got that Super SD3 Pro thing for the TurboGrafx 16. I finally found my TurboGrafx 16, but what I can't find are any controllers for it. All my controllers are Duo controllers, which do not fit.
Do not fit. Yeah, that was really that's the biggest jerk move NEC pulled with that system, I think. I mean, there's all the different hardware variants, and there's many jerk moves they pulled with that system. But yeah, switching the controller port. Now, the one advantage is the Duo uses the same controller port as some model of Mac from that same era. Mm-hmm. So if you need like an extension cord, because it comes with a really short cord, which is another kind of jerk maneuver, you can use like a Mac mouse extension cord.
Oh, nice. Cool. So it's like, what is that, ADP, I think that's called?
It's something. I have one. I literally just bought it like at CompUSA when I needed an extension cord.
That's awesome. Yeah. Doesn't the Duo use, I could be wrong, listeners feel free to at us, yell at Zach about my failures, but
or don't. I don't.
doesn't the Duo use the PC Engine pin out in size, maybe?
For
Or something.
Oh, you're saying in the U.S. the TurboGrafx has a different controller, but in Japan it's the same controller size all around. Yeah, that seems like a thing that could be real. Sure.
I think it is. I think that's true.
Yeah, because if you want to buy controllers, it's usually a lot cheaper to. I mean, it's like everything else with the TurboGrafx. Like, you can import controllers more easily than you can get like first-party Duo controllers.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I happen to find some good controllers on eBay. So those are in the mail. Expect a lot of TurboGrafx 16 games and our game club coming up, because I'll finally have a great way to play those. And I know we're going a little long here, but yeah, Pete Dorr. You ever hear of this guy?
No.
He's I don't blame you, and neither had I. I just randomly landed on him on Twitch. So he's one of these guys that's been YouTubing and Twitching for pretty much since their creations. And the one thing I've been kind of addicted to, some things he does every Saturday night, is he just streams himself browsing eBay rare video game items. And I don't know what it is, but I just find it so calming. He's really knowledgeable on prices and you know what things came with posters and all that stuff. You know, he has a pretty good collection, and so just wanted to give that a shout out. That this thing, I'm almost embarrassed that I like it just because it's so like you're just watching someone on eBay, but it is for me really entertaining. But yeah. Other than our game club games and all that traveling stuff, yeah, that's what I've been up to. So I'm glad to be podcasting again. I've actually missed it for some strange reason. A little empty hole in my heart without recording this podcast. So I guess we should actually do the podcast.
We should do that, yeah. Some of these news items are good. Some I'm like, wait a minute, why are we talking about this? I added this first one, so I guess this is my fault. It's a PS2. This is the hardware section of the show, where we're trying to have sections, and sometimes succeeding. This is a mod to create a portable PlayStation 2 that looks... The end result looks a lot like the Wii Pad to me. Mm-hmm. It's probably smaller than the Wii Pad. They did not move the optical drive over, of course. Because clearly then it would be huge and loud and really inconvenient. Mm-hmm. But it's, hacking down PlayStation 2 hardware and adding, SD card and so on, so you can fit it in a fairly small handheld system.
Yeah, this thing is very impressive. It's not the first PS2 handheld, but I think it's got to be the best. And just like the Wii stuff, they had to chop up the motherboard for to do this. And when you scroll down and look on the insides, it's a really impressive design. They did a great job here.
Yeah, I mean, Sony could definitely, and they made a not portable, but a small PlayStation Classic. They could certainly do a PS2. It's the difficulty is probably just licensing, right? I mean, because Sony makes games, but most of the games you think of for PlayStation 2 are not Sony games, would be my guess.
Yeah, I would agree there. Yeah, at least the ones you want to play.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because you got to get like Katamari Damacy on there and GTA games and
God of War.
Metal Gear and all that stuff. Yeah. Final Fantasy X, hopefully. Stuff like that.
Yeah. So everyone, I hope you check that out. It looks really cool. And if you build something like that yourself, please let us know. The next one, Zach's favorite title of this episode, Beige Against the Machine. The IBM PC turns 40. So 40 years ago, the 5150 with the first version of MS-DOS was released.
Yeah, I guess I would have thought that was older.
I did too, but they were really... I guess they were a Unix company before that, right?
Yeah, I mean, IBM has dabbled in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
it feels like something, because it's like it was always around. I guess if it came out in 1981, it would be effectively always around for most of us.
Yeah,
So I guess
yeah.
that's why I just thought it was older.
But I've been looking at a lot of the news stuff on YouTube, and maybe in this, no, not in this article, but it's funny, Big Blue is going small and taking on Apple, and just, wow, what a different time it was,
Yeah. I could not actually tell you what IBM does today.
I'm going to just go and say Watson is about it.
But you can't go and buy Watson, can you?
So many companies use it, so they're back
Really?
to just servicing big companies, yeah. Yeah.
All right. And they still exist, so I mean, they're doing something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny. Even if you go watch, what was that show? Rise of the Nerds?
That
The show
sounds
that
right.
came out. Yeah, something like that. They go to the place that IBM built this thing in Boca Raton, Florida, I want to say. Something like that. It was already totally empty back then in the mid-90s, so that's really where it went. Yeah. We have a lot of anniversaries this year.
You sure do. Not an anniversary, but the last thing in our hardware section, that we are going to get an Amiga 500 Mini, which, I've bought other mini computers and not really used them, so I'm really on the fence about this one. Although this is not a computer, right? This is more like a game system.
Yeah, but you can sideload any Amiga ROM or whatever you want to call it, ISO, into this.
Right,
It's
but
built
it
for
doesn't
that.
have a functional keyboard. If you wanted to write Amiga software for it, you would have to write it on an emulator locally and then copy it over. You couldn't actually sit down and write an Amiga program on this.
No. You could
Yeah.
just play Amiga, the things on this. But so that keyboard doesn't work?
Doesn't look like it, does
I
it?
thought it did.
Well, it's the same company that did the Commodore 64 reboot, right? And the Commodore 64 definitely has a working keyboard, has a model of the working keyboard, and I think they have one model that it's just a decorative, like it's small and decorative.
Okay.
It's called the A500 Mini, which tells me it's small, and
Yeah.
therefore not a real keyboard. Well,
Yeah.
let's look at the actual. Let's see. I guess we could have researched this or something.
No, we didn't have enough time between
Yeah,
episodes.
yeah, that's true. At the end of the day, I guess I don't care if we're right or wrong. So, software features: emulate, save progress, add your own games, virtual keyboard, and USB keyboard support.
There you go.
So that keyboard is not functional.
Oh, that's so sad. It's so beautiful. It is a
Yeah.
nice looking keyboard. This really is a nice looking system, and I like that it comes with the A500 gamepad too, for all the games you'll be playing. Which it comes loaded with quite a few games, and it retails for $140, which is for this a bit too rich for my blood. Just because, I mean, you had one of these growing up, right? Was it a 500?
I had one as a young adult, let's say. I don't think
Is the nostalgia
I don't think
factor
that counts as
big
growing up.
enough for you to get this?
No. And here's why. I don't want to revive old nerdy computer debates, but more or less anything that I would want to play on the Amiga 500, I could play on Scum VM or DOSBox. More or
Yep.
less, right?
Yep.
Now often the Amiga versions look better or have better music. I get that. Right? I don't care about arguing over those things. It's I can already play them. I mean, if I want to play, the Gold Box D&D games, I can play those on an Apple II emulator or a PC emulator or whatever, right? So I'm trying to think what is unique to the Amiga that I want to play, and it's not a very long list.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing if you had demo scene discs or something, that's about it. I
Yeah,
could think of for
which
this.
are all on YouTube, right? I mean, it's a demo. The
yeah.
music and videos and that kind of stuff. But again, because it doesn't have a real keyboard, it's not maybe a good system for trying to do homebrew. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're going to be doing your development against an Amiga emulator on your computer anyways.
Yeah. At least it's pretty. How about that?
All right. Next section is the broad homebrew ROM hacks and emulation, and we're going to talk about a canceled Game Boy game called, what was it called? A Game Boy Color game called Infinity that is going on Kickstarter soon.
Yeah, this looks pretty good. So I guess it was canceled back in the day, and now they're finishing it, and I hope this thing gets kickstarted. It has a tactical battle system. Yeah, about 20 hours of gameplay and 6 playable characters. Yeah, this looks pretty good. So, Infinity on Kickstarter. It's in our show notes. Definitely check it out and let us know if you get this one. At least it's not Indiegogo.
Right. Last episode, or possibly the episode before, we talked about this article about ALF on Master System and collision detection. And the author wrote a follow-up piece with some even more information about this, including like how the hardware collision detection works on different hardware variants, including a little bit about like on the Genesis you can trigger collision detection from stuff that doesn't even look like it's touching. Some really neat experiments in here. And that and the other part's like in ALF, like whether you're jumping or not impacts the collision detection too. Like just crazy deep analysis on this. It's really good.
It also seems like he got a lot of emails and he just wanted to clear a lot of things up and answer a lot of questions, right? But yeah, she wrote a really, really impressive article, a good deep dive.
Yeah, I really enjoy this. And then our kind of catch-all, odd and interesting things. So I think we talked about this in boy, this is getting close to being my band topic list.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is like the last one we're going to do.
Yeah, I think so. So you can buy shares in a Super Mario cartridge because I guess timeshares aren't a big enough scam, so you instead can buy shares of a Nintendo cartridge, whatever. And then sell it, and then it sells for like $8 bajillion to, I don't know, someone with more money than common sense. So that's what this article's about.
Yeah, and they're kind of implying that maybe that Mario 64 that sold, that's why it went for so much. It was like a scam, so they could do this more times. But I don't really know if it's been proved, but it's definitely, you could definitely buy into Super Mario Brothers. Not the first, the first one, not Mario 64. We almost like don't even want to talk about it, but we figured we'd just mention this one.
So this is a good time to tell you that my wife knows someone who's like super obsessed with Clay Aiken. You know, he was on American Idol, and I guess he does some sort of music. And he does raffles like every year where you can have Clay Aiken come over to your house and like have dinner with you. This is a real thing you can do if you have money. Wow. And apparently the people who tend to win that are people who organize, you know, groups where you're each buying a share of dinner with Clay Aiken. And then like you and these like 7 other people that you may or may not know have Clay Aiken over. I don't know if you must rent something bigger than your house then to have him over. Must have dinner somewhere else, but that's a real thing that you'll get groups together to invest in purchasing dinner with Clay Aiken, who has a strange, hard to describe, dedicated following.
Wow.
I have met this person, by the way, and they are indeed obsessed with Clay Aiken.
Wow. Have they won?
They have had dinner with Clay Aiken. Yes.
Was it all it was cracked up to be?
I have no idea. I don't want to say the amount of money they spent though. I heard the figure, and I was just like, wow.
That's okay.
It was a dollar figure where I thought I had a number in mind because I've you know, if you work for big companies, sometimes you bring in like some random celebrity for a corporate event. Mm-hmm. And the dollar figure was more than like I thought if I got my company to call up and be like, hey, we want Clay Aiken just to show up and like give a pep talk to our managers, right? Then it would probably be less money, is my guess.
Wow. Well, if our listeners want to eat dinner with me, first of all, you probably don't want that. Second of all, start a raffle. I'm sure there's a website for that. We'll see what happens.
there's a Frogger TV show coming, right? We talked about the Frogger TV show, didn't we? Before? Pretty sure we did.
Did we?
Yeah,
I don't know.
we were speculating what type of show the Frogger game show would be on a previous episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was just kind of announced with no details, and now we have some details.
Yeah, that it is. It's going to be in the style of Wipeout, which makes sense.
Yes.
And it's going to be hosted by Damon Wayans.
It's incredible. Just
Awesome,
incredible. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to watch this. And, it's on Peacock, which no one has, but a lot of people don't realize that if you have Comcast, you can log in for free with your Comcast account and have full Peacock.
But you get commercials, right?
I don't think so.
I'll have to check.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, you might, 'cause I think my kid signed up for a Peacock account, like on one of her devices. Even though I have a Peacock account, because that's where pro wrestling is now. Mm-hmm. So I have the commercial-free Peacock. Except for, like, live events, because how can you not have commercials in live events, I guess?
Yeah.
It was good for, like, Olympic replays. Like, if you want to watch a rugby game or something, you could just, spin that up. Rugby is, like, #1 sport that I can't believe isn't more popular in America.
Yeah. I didn't do any of that because the news always told me who won before it's saying spoiler. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, they didn't do that for rugby because nobody followed. Like, you do that for, like, Team USA basketball and stuff.
Yeah.
Gymnastics. But anyhow, yeah. Damon Wayans is hosting Frogger, and it is going to be like Wipeout.
Yes. I'm very excited for this one. Sometimes you just need some dumb TV. Newly discovered Sega Saturn game prototype was way ahead of its time. Have you ever heard of this before?
Burning Rangers? Yeah, isn't this a Dreamcast or possibly arcade game? Or is Burning Rangers a Saturn game? Maybe it's so advanced I've been thinking it's a Dreamcast game this whole time. No, it is indeed a Saturn game. Look at that.
Yeah, Burning Rangers. I mean, it's for the Saturn's hardware. It's kind of fire particle effects and stuff like that were just really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So the biggest difference here is that this had the prototype had a 2-player mode that was cut from the final release.
Mm-hmm. So are you putting out fires in this? Are you firemen? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think you're like space firemen or something.
Okay, yeah. The Saturn, like I've said many times in this podcast, it's kind of a black hole for me. I don't know too much about it, but apparently the developers went on to create Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah.
And Sonic All-Star Racing. Cool.
Burning Rangers is set in a futuristic society in which fire is the remaining danger. So all other dangers other than fire have been eliminated. This is not too far off.
Yeah.
So, let's see, there's another go back and visit photos from arcades in the past. This is a Japanese arcade in 1979. And there you go.
Yeah, it is all Space Invaders everywhere.
Yeah.
Just everywhere. And lots of cigarettes.
Yep. Smoking and playing Space Invaders, yep.
So if you feel pretty safe right now and you're playing video games, you could be wrong. Because a man was recently shocked by lightning while playing with his PlayStation 2. Apparently, lightning struck very close, and, well, the PlayStation 2's controller is wired to the PlayStation 2, which is wired to the wall, and I didn't think that could happen because of plastic, but I guess it can only insulate so much, huh?
I guess.
He was playing San Andreas. Was this you?
No, it was not. No, the author says he was playing... This guy was playing San Andreas at the time? I'm playing on the PlayStation 4. I'm not playing on the PlayStation 2. But he apparently suffered burns, but is completely fine. Controller is melted near the USB connection. Otherwise, fine.
That is crazy.
I kind of want to see photos.
Yeah, I want to see it all. Yeah, wow. So, I guess be careful out there, or in there.
Yeah, or just your surge protector. Like,
yeah, yeah. I actually have everything plugged in through batteries, so I know it's always clean power running through. We're not getting a new Castlevania game because it's only being released for Apple Arcade. So unless you pay for Apple Arcade, you're not getting how do you pronounce that?
Castlevania?
No, the what is that? Grimoire of Souls?
Sure.
Sure, we'll go with that. I'm sure I totally butchered that, but apparently this was released briefly elsewhere and taken down quickly, and now is just on Apple Arcade. Yeah, it kind of looks like a follow up to Dracula X or Symphony of the Night, and I kind of want Apple Arcade now, but I would have no place to play it. So hopefully, eventually, it'll be elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't really trust Apple to make anything gaming related, so I'm not. I don't know what Apple Arcade is exactly, but
it's just like you pay monthly, and which is not very much, and you get a bunch of free games, and some of them are pretty good. My son has it on his little tablet, but yeah. Anywho, Picross. You a fan of Picross games?
I played the one. There's one on the Switch Virtual Console thingy, right? For Super Nintendo?
I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
I think there is. It's all right. It's okay. It's kind of like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like something you play for a few minutes at a time and then don't touch for a while.
Yeah. It has a strong following. People adore this, I guess, type of game because there's more than just Picross games. There's Picross-like games, and Picross S is coming out, Genesis and Master System edition. So
this looks nothing like the game I played on Super Nintendo Virtual Console. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it does not actually have a Picross game. It has something with a similar name that I played instead. It's also a puzzle game.
Okay. Yeah, I think you have to license the Picross name from Nintendo, if I remember right. But I've watched a few videos on this, and it's funny because you think you're immediately going to be getting Sonic or Tails or some Altered Beast stuff, but it starts out with the turn sign from Outrun and stuff like that. So pretty I don't know if I'm going to get this one. I don't think Picross is my thing.
No, it looks too much like Minesweeper.
Exactly, that's what I thought too. But people adore this, and I do not judge them for it. And that's our news. I guess we have a topic this week, huh?
Kinda, yeah. I guess in the past week, Metroid turned 35, so I wrote down a few notes about that. Now, you've not played Metroid, is that true?
That is false.
Oh, false, okay.
That is false. I've only played the first, I've only played Metroid and Super Metroid.
Okay.
I dabbled for very briefly in Metroid Prime, but I think my Wii broke or something happened where I stopped playing it, but I remember enjoying it even though it was a first-person game. But yeah, the original Metroid. Let's go through some of your notes here.
Yeah, I have a lot here. So I was kind of surprised. I looked up everything that Metroid is on. So if you for some reason you haven't played it or don't own a copy, it's on I won't say everything, but it's on NES, Game Boy Advance, Virtual Console. There are miniature challenges in NES Remix. The NES Online thing for Switch, or whatever it's officially called, of course, has it. Mm-hmm. And the NES Classic, which is kind of a good way to play it, too. Yeah.
I mean, I recently played it on the NES Online for Switch, and I found it's one of the few games that I didn't use the rewind feature other than during the Mother Brain fight.
Oh, yeah. See, I think, what you played enough. I don't think I ever would use the rewind feature unless I was trying to get to a secret level and got stuck in a wall or something.
Yeah. But
so I was trying to think. I could not remember. So this is not like about like Metroid per se. It's more about some memories of Metroid and other kind of fun Metroid-y things that are out there today. So I have no recollection of how I learned about Metroid. It must have been Nintendo Power. I can't imagine in any other way that I would have learned about the existence of Metroid. And I thought it looked pretty good. So I remember it was like sold out a lot because it took me a while to find a copy. And like most first-time Metroid players, I got stuck very early on in the game because the game starts and you just start running right like you do in every other side-scrolling game. But
Until you get stopped.
Yeah, you actually have to go left first. And that's kind of a neat way to like teach the player like you're going to have to go in every direction. This is not Mario, right? Where you're just running in one direction and shooting. Like this is a game where you're supposed to explore and, actually look for stuff. Sort of like the original Zelda game, there wasn't a specific order you had to do it in. There were 2 mini bosses that you had to kill before you could fight the Mother Brain, although it's pretty easy to skip either of them. Did you figure out how to skip the mini bosses on your own?
I think so, yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I definitely remember figuring that out and thinking I was the smartest person on Earth. But of course, everybody else figured it out too. So you could kind of do the game in any order, right? Like the instructions had the mini bosses numbered, but it really didn't matter where you did them in. And this is one that I definitely played like every summer vacation for years. At least one time I tried to find all 255 missiles.
And you were not successful, or you were?
No, I was. It just took forever. Just because some of some of the areas start to look the same after a while, and you forget if you've explored an area already. So it's pretty easy to get to enter an area and say, "Oh, I already got everything from here," and when in reality you've never actually been to it. Zach added some of his memories down here. He said he played it when it was released on a friend's NES. He wrote down passcodes, and they almost never worked because O and 0 looked the same.
Yep.
Yeah. Which later Nintendo games have just dropped one of those two. Also, convincing my aunt, who we were visiting in New Jersey, to let me call my buddy long distance so he could read me codes to play on his cousin's Metroid.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Kids today who have no idea what that's like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was probably an expensive phone call.
Yes. And he says this is, for Zach, this is his favorite video game franchise of all time. And won't buy a new Nintendo console until there's a Metroid game for it.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I didn't write any notes down because I have literally the exact same memories you do from this game where, yeah. I mean, I remember distinctly seeing it in Nintendo Power, specifically all the level, an entire area all at once. And it blew my mind. Like, how did they do that? How did they put this together? And just studying it, every day until I could find the game. Because like you said, at Toys R Us, it was sold out all the time. This is definitely in my top 10 all-time games. I recently played Super Metroid all the way through for this podcast. And I absolutely adored it. But this game, this is my Metroid, and I also distinctly remember that, that the opening music, how they're almost, in a few areas too, the music is so barren and it was almost like what they didn't, the first time I ever thought like, oh, what's important in this music is what they're not playing. It sounds artsy fartsy, but I distinctly remember that memory. Like you have in the notes here too. Now I really enjoy watching speedruns of this game, and it makes me feel like a horrible gamer because they are so much better than I am.
Yeah, I mean, I have no desire to be that good at speedrunning that I could actually compete in Metroid. Part of it, I kind of just like messing around.
That's what I was going to bring up too. It was kind of this game and The Legend of Zelda where in this game, I'm not going to talk about Legend of Zelda, but in this game, I would bomb everything and shoot everything and just look for blocks that disappeared. And it was so exciting when you found one. And sometimes it took you to a whole new area.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I never tried making maps, or at least I will say I never tried making maps. Perhaps I did.
You already had them in Nintendo Power.
Did it have the whole world? Was the whole world there?
I can't remember. I do remember it was, what world is that? I think it was Ridley's area.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they gave you just enough to make you like interested in the game, but they didn't want like someone renting it and clearing the whole game in one weekend, right?
Yeah. But, one question, you have in here is, favorite areas. And I would definitely say, I probably am, this is probably not a popular answer, but Brinstar is one of my favorite areas just because, when you fade in and you start the game, how that music starts and how everything sounds and looks, it just feels so right. And then I think also, Ridley's Lair, it just felt so different than anything I had ever seen before.
And the music there was like really kind of squishy, for lack of a better term.
yes, and everything looked a bit more scary, and it was made out of bubbles for some reason.
Why not? Yeah.
How about you? What do you think your favorite area would be?
Yeah, it's hard. Like I like that area a lot too. I mean, I like the initial area, and I like Ridley's area. Well, those are both really solid choices. Let's see. I didn't write this down in my notes, but we did figure out by accident, there's a weapon where it's like the wave ice beam combination that you can get through passwords, and got that by accident. So one thing I tried a few times was just hooking up a TurboFire controller to the password screen and just randomly moving the joystick around while with the TurboFire button down. And it only takes like a minute or two to find a working password because almost anything works. Almost anything will produce a valid Metroid game. One time through that, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. What's this crazy weapon? It must have been something they planned to have in the game and then took out later.
Now, I always skip the wave gun because you really don't need it.
No. I mean, it's actually like harmful in the last area. It's okay in the Ridley fight if you don't have a lot of missiles, then it's good in the Ridley fight. But it's pretty much useless in the last area.
Would you say this one's in your top games?
Yeah, definitely top Nintendo games. Yeah. I don't know. I've at various times thought I would make a video game ranking list, and it turns out that's really hard to do.
Yeah, because it depends how you feel that day.
Yeah, and it's hard to compare games of different genres and different generations.
Yeah. Did you ever play the NES remix of this? If so, what do they do with this?
I did, but now I forget what's in there. I mean, they're all... most of them are fairly simple. One of them I remember involves getting like one of the hidden energy packs. There's an energy pack that's hidden in the ceiling, and I think one of the challenges was getting that. Escape, I mean, the last escape at the end is one of the challenges, I'm pretty sure. I have to look this up now. But yeah, I definitely played it and got, 3 stars or whatever. So it's an NES Remix 2, if that's the one you're playing. Sorry, it was not in the original. You had to actually get the second one. It's probably an Ultimate NES Remix 2. Yeah, yes it is. There you go. That's on 3DS. It's easier for most people to get. Mini games. The NES Remix games are get the morph ball, morph, and then shoot the door on the other end of the room. Collect the first missiles in 30 seconds, and use one to kill a Rio. Collect the bombs in 10 seconds, then kill a Zoomer in 5 seconds in the next room. You don't need to read all these, do you? There's like a dozen.
No.
Freeze 3 Metroids. Kill a Metroid. Kill 3 Metroids. Kill Mother Brain and escape in 999 seconds.
That one sounds pretty fun.
Collect the screw attack without taking damage in 1 minute.
So you have some hacking notes here too, which I've never dabbled into this stuff.
Yeah, I wrote down a few things. So a couple things I wrote down. First of all, I have a section here called Things Metroid Might Have Invented. And I said might have invented because I didn't actually look up if Metroid did in fact invent these things.
This is, just your viewpoint.
My viewpoint that Metroid accidentally invented speedrunning because there were different endings based on how quickly you completed the game, and it just became like an informal competition between friends to see who could beat it the fastest. Again, because the ending actually encouraged you to try to finish the game quickly. I acknowledge that previous games people may have had competitions over who they could beat fastest, but I was hard-pressed to think of a game that had different endings based on how quickly you finished the game before Metroid.
Yeah. Like I'm sure there's some, but
yeah, don't write and tell me like Ultima 2 did this. I don't care. And then like in general, the side-scrolling open world genre is named after Metroid. So may not have invented it, but certainly the thing that people most associate Metroid with.
Totally. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Maybe Sorcerian invented that. I don't know. Metroid's what everyone thinks of, okay? So yeah, there's there's a lot of hacking stuff. Like there's tools where you can generate passwords. People have reverse engineered the password algorithm. So you can just go in and check a bunch of boxes off and get the password you want. I think there's a JavaScript version of this password manager tool.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, it's a website.
Yeah. So you can just get any combination you feel like. There's a lot of different randomizers, things that just rearrange the game. Put the items in different spots. Probably generate some possible games along the way. A couple editors. There's Edit Troid and Meta Edit. They're both similar, some little different features. One is sort of more like has more of a map type of user interface. The other looks more like you're editing code. So it just depends what you're more comfortable with. If you want to, edit Metroid and not have to learn how to decompile and recompile Metroid. And in terms of hacks, there's a lot of hacks. So right now on romhacking.net, there are almost 50 Metroid hacks. And I'm just going to call out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Metroid Genocide, which is like a huge overhaul of the game that makes it much, much harder. And also has new graphics, new enemy shapes, that kind of stuff. It's really just like hard mode Metroid with new levels. One I played, I don't play this one yet. Samus Mother Brain Returns. So the developer of this had been working on it for 9 years. And it is a full sequel, and it has a map mode. I don't believe they invented the auto map mode. I think if you look, the auto map appears in a lot of ROM hacks. So I think I think like they took the code base that other people have used to do mapping. One that I would like to play here, I gotta play this, Metroid Rogue Dawn. So this is a prequel that someone made, which uses a completely different art style. I mean, you can tell it's Metroid, but like they redid all the art in the game, and it looks very, very different. And it's sort of the story of Samus before Metroid, or at least what they believe the story of Samus before Metroid.
Oh, wow, this artwork is incredible. I might need this.
Yeah, it is really, really good artwork. I have to try this one. The next one I played is this one I have played. It's called Metroid Zebian Illusion, and this is the graphics aren't really changed. I mean, they changed the palette and graphics a little bit, but it's mostly the exact same graphics. And it's just like, here's Metroid with brand new maps. Which, really, you could make an endless number of these, and I would play most of them. Yeah, I assume they're good maps. And the last one, which I haven't tried yet, is Metroid Captive. So, this is another one where it's, a graphic overhaul. Not a huge graphic overhaul, not as big as what was that one, Rogue Dawn. Rogue Dawn looks like the best. graphically speaking.
Oh, yeah.
But this is just like kind of touched up graphics with an all new map. Really looks good. And then there's a lot of ROM hacks that add battery support.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes.
So no more passwords.
But now, I mean, the Switch does that now pretty much, right? You have
right,
save
like, what does it
states.
matter, right? If you're playing a Metroid ROM hack, you're probably playing it on an emulator anyways.
Yeah.
So you have save states. Like, it's a cool feature. I like it. Not complaining about it. If you're going to play it on like an EverDrive, then you have to have this.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is cool.
So that's Metroid.
Yeah, I think the last thing I want to mention is they were developing on the same game engine Kid Icarus at the same time, and we definitely know which one kind of won the Better Game Award.
Yeah. I like Kid Icarus, but man, that game is kind of rough.
Yeah, and this game is so polished, and they're so different, but you could kind of tell they're on the same engine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they play a lot alike. And some of the graphics look similar. You know, some of the scenery and stuff look similar. But, you know, other than the dungeons, Kid Icarus doesn't have free exploration. And it just has a lot of cheap deaths.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, and spoiler, Samus is a girl.
Yes.
So any closing thoughts of 35 years with Metroid?
No, I mean, I can't believe it's only 5 years younger than the IBM PC. This seems all wrong to me. That's really bizarre to me now.
Well, we got I guess we have some game club, huh?
Yeah, let's do that.
Nice. I'll do mine since it's up there first on our list. So I did Thexder on the Apple II GS. It is released on many platforms. It first came out on the PC 8801, but it came out on the Famicom, just regular Apple II, MS-DOS, Macintosh, Trash 80, and Amiga, and a few others. But so you play a robot kind of that can turn into a jet kind of spaceship thing, kind of like a Robotech type thing. And you are trapped in this giant structure that has kind of 16 areas with these flying objects, kind of robot-ish kind of objects, but they're more like shapes, but they look, not organic, I guess. And the object is to get out and destroy the computer that is creating all these objects. So this game has strange controls where you push down to turn into the jet thing, to fly around this, I guess, maze type areas. You just hold down fire and it auto aims at all these objects coming at you. And you get, I guess, upgrades and stuff like that if you don't use your shield throughout this game. And so since it's mostly on computers, I've mostly played it with keyboard and, just keyboard, not keyboard and mouse. This game got really great reviews at the time. A lot of people, well, at least one person in a review calling it, the first real arcade experience at home with the Apple II GS. Now, remember, the Apple II GS is a 16-bit system that has a lot of color and a fantastic audio chip. And you really see it in this game on that system. I had this as a kid, so I have fond memories of it, and I remember it wowing me. Playing it now, it definitely feels dated. It felt more accessible on the Famicom ROM I tried, but it was different. It was a little more sluggish, and the music wasn't as great. This thing has fantastic music. I would say give this game a try. Play it for 10 minutes. I did learn that there are many sequels to it, which I didn't know anything about until this week. So I am going to try some of those in the future. But also, in looking at those, I learned that this game was made by Game Arts. It was licensed to, what was it, EA for the Famicom? Or no, it was licensed to Square for the Famicom. And yeah, Game Arts have done so many things. They're still programming stuff now. You have played probably a few of their games. Like the Grandia series and a few others. But what are your thoughts on this one? Which one did you play?
So I played the Famicom ROM, just because again that was easiest, and I thought it was like extremely hard. I mean I've kind of gotten out of playing shooters, so I did not last very long at all. I thought the music was good. I know you said it's not as good on the Famicom as it is elsewhere, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought for an NES or Famicom game, it was a pretty good soundtrack. That's the part that stood out the most to me. Was I liked the soundtrack. The gameplay was just kind of confusing to me because I would transform a lot and not really know why I just did.
Exactly, yeah. And it's weird calling it a shooter, right? Because it's not like Gradius. It's not like Life Force. It's kind of... what other game is really like this one? I think Bang.io on the Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, and DS owe a lot to this game. I would say, if this game didn't have sequels, that would definitely be its spiritual successor. But I can't. Can you think of anything that's close to this one?
I don't know if I don't know offhand. I mean, possibly the game that came before Herzog Zwei, which was just called Herzog. I have to go back and look at that one again. It's been a real long time since I've seen that, but I think that was more shooter than it was strategy, and might have had the same sort of transformation mechanic.
What was that, Genesis, or was that?
No, it was like MSX or something.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
No, I could just be wrong. Maybe it was actually a strategy game all along. I think it was not, though. If well, hold on. Here's a Let's Play. This is me not researching anything again. YouTube's not working, so that's good. Okay. Actually, my life is better without YouTube. You know what? Let's strike that. Like Herzog, like the robot looks similar. Mm-hmm. And the background graphics look similar, but it's a little similar, but not a lot. I mean, it's the closest I can come up with off the top of my head.
It's the shooting mechanic that, it's very unique. It's hard to explain, but I implore anyone, look up even on YouTube or something, Thexder for the Apple II GS or the Famicom. Check it out, and if it looks cool to you, play it. There's another similar looking robot in another NES game that's eluding me right now, but I will think of it in a different episode.
Probably. Oh, you think of Section Z?
Possibly. Let me look.
That doesn't play anything like this, but the robot.
No, it just looks. Yeah, that is it. Section Z. You are correct. Yeah.
Yeah, not bad for not prepping, right?
Yeah. So let's move on to yours.
That's a good. What did I pick? Oh yeah, Pole Position. Yeah, so I played the 2600 version of Pole Position just because I don't know why, but I like playing the 2600 version more than the arcade version. Mm-hmm. Probably because it's a lot easier. And you essentially have unlimited quarters on the 2600. And yeah, it's a fairly early, first-person view racing. Well, it's not really first. You're not in the cockpit. You're behind the car. And it's not. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not the first game to do that, or I'm almost positive it isn't. But it was one of the first to kind of get it right, and that people remember at least. And yeah, you get a time trial, and then based on your time, you then compete in the real, actual race. Usually I could get through the time trial, but not always, because I'm not super awesome at racing games. It's always the same track. I guess I could have picked Pole Position 2, which has more tracks, has four tracks, including the really easy track where you're just driving the circle.
Yes.
Which I can handle. I guess maybe I could do NASCAR games. NASCAR video games seem really boring, doesn't it?
That seems really boring. Yeah.
But yeah, pole position is a little bit, there's like kind of one really sharp turn on the track that everybody hates. Otherwise, it's not a very hard course. And as arcade ports go, the 2600 really did a good job with this. I mean, the arcade clearly looks better. But the 2600 looks really good for a 2600 game. And I think plays pretty well, too.
It's definitely one of those carts that you purchase and you get home, and not having it side by side back in the day, you would say like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
This was a great buy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's like it has it has the mountains in the background. It's, it does a pretty serviceable job.
Yeah. They did a great job with it.
Yeah, I mean, the other cars just kind of look like, they look sort of like a fence. Like, they don't really look like cars. I'm not even sure if they're moving. I think they're just more like obstacles than they are cars.
But
it's still
hey,
good.
what are you going to do with that hardware? Yeah.
Yeah, I could never pull a game like this off. Like, it's a really good job. So what did you play it on?
So I played it on MAME. I played the, I wouldn't call it play. I would call it mapping buttons.
Okay.
And then for 10 minutes, realizing I made a horrible decision and then running out of time. But it does look great on MAME. And I will say that anytime I see this game, the sit-down version of this game in the arcade, I will play it. Okay. Just sitting down in that thing and having that early voice mechanic, the prepare to qualify, really takes me back, and it's a great time. So what are you going to do next?
I think I want to conclude the Summer in the Arcade series I've been doing here next week with Joust.
I'm excited for that one. I love that game.
Yeah, that's one where the 2600 version is absolutely insane.
It's stellar. It really is.
Right, it's very different than the arcade. Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. And what are you going to do?
I'm going to do R-Type, hoping that I have my TurboGrafx 16 up and running. If not, I will be having a frowny face on and while I'm emulating it. But yeah, so if any of our listeners play Thexder or Pole Position or R-Type or Joust or have any retro game or topic or project you want to talk about, we would love to hear from you. It's why we're doing this thing. Email us at email@retrogameclub.net. That is email@retrogameclub.net. Hit us up on Facebook, facebook.retrogameclub.net, Twitter @RGC Podcast, and Instagram, which I still have no idea what the address is. I meant to look that up before the show, and I didn't. Oh, and we have a Linktree link in our show notes starting now. Okay. So Zach put that together.
I actually not heard of Linktree.
So Linktree is something I recently heard of, and Zach put it together. Thank you, Zach. Yeah. It is literally just a site where you put all your links. So if you have, your website or whatever, for your restaurant or whatever thing you own or do, you don't have to have a million links on your website. They could just click on this one and then pick which one to go to.
Right, so I went to linktree.com, and it gives you some recommendations. It recommended Selena Gomez for me.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
She probably has a lot of social media. And yeah, you're right. It's just a list. Listen to my latest song, which we don't have. Buy merchandise, which we don't have. Her line of beauty products, which we also don't have.
We should do that. We need a line of beauty products.
Donate to a charity that she supports. We don't do that either. Serendipity 3. It's supposed to be a restaurant. Oh yeah, she owns an ice cream shop. We don't do that either. But there's a link to that.
What if our beauty products were just for consoles and stuff? So it's like stuff for retro brighting and stuff for like cleaning your carts. No,
maybe, I don't know. But so it's like that. I understand, except with completely different links than the first one it recommended to me.
Well, yeah, so I'm on it right now, and it's beautiful. Okay. And it also has our Game Club game links, so you can play the games online.
Retro Game
It's
Club?
it's in the show notes.
Oh, okay.
It's in the show notes. At the bottom there, right above our email.
Oh, I found it. I used the internet to find it. And this looks
And
really
it also
nice.
has our...
I like the style.
Yeah.
This looks cool.
Yeah. And it has our master game list as well, which Zach maintains. Zach does a lot.
There's a lot of stuff, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Zach does more prep than we do.
Oh, yeah. That's a low bar. Very, very low bar. And yeah, we got this Instagram page with some photo. Yeah, some of the games we talked about and some random ads and some stuff I haven't seen before. I haven't seen some of these things. Interesting.
Well, we got some email. I could take this first one. It's from Adam, and he recently acquired an Xbox Series S with 6 months of a Game Pass. So if people don't know, a Game Pass is actually pretty great. It has many, many, many games that you can play on your Xbox for a very fair price. So there's almost no reason to buy games anymore. I think the first one that kind of got that right. Anyway, his kids haven't been able to find much to play on it. You know, maybe not their thing or whatever. And they requested to repurchase a Wii U. And he wants to know what titles would we recommend, what we most enjoyed on the Wii U. And I'm going to start out by saying I have actually never played a Wii U. I went from the Wii to the Switch, and I think it was just because the Wii U looked so much like the Wii, where I just thought, what, I already own one of those. Yeah, what would you recommend?
So I have a long list here because I did play a lot of Wii U. That was a big system for me last generation. The problem is, it's hard for me to come up with Wii U games that are not already on the Switch. Nearly every Wii U game that you want to play is on Switch. So the most obvious ones that have not been ported to Switch are Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. Wind Waker in particular really benefits from having the Wii U pad.
Mm-hmm.
The NES Remix games are not on Switch either. They're on 3DS, but 3DS has 3/4 of the collection. Whereas on Switch, you get every single NES Remix.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest kid who likes Minecraft assures me that the Wii U version of Minecraft is the best version. I think also because of the pad. So if your kids like Minecraft, that's apparently a really good platform for it. And then the rest of my picks, these are mostly things that are on Switch. So, obviously Breath of the Wild is great on there. Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze is great on there. Those are both on Switch. Mario 3D World is an incredible game. Mario Kart 8 is great. It has the first Splatoon. I don't think the first Splatoon is on Switch. I think only the second
No, it's just the second one, which I adore that game. It's one of the only online games I like.
And then I have two avoid at all cost recommendations. Nintendo Land and Animal Crossing Amiibo Fest. Those games are bad.
I haven't heard of either of those.
Nintendo Land is like a collection of mini games, and it's just, none of them are fun. And Animal Crossing Amiibo Fest is literally a board game that you need to buy amiibos to play.
Yikes.
It's just a tool to sell amiibos. And despite having Animal Crossing, the name is not an Animal Crossing game.
Maybe you could start buying shares into some amiibos. I think those are the next hot things.
Yeah, I know the stupid Skyward Sword amiibo is super rare.
Oh, I believe it. But anyway, yeah, so I hope some of that helped, but Adam goes on to say he enjoyed playing Tiger Heli on MAME and Commando on the 7800. They're both fun games. Tiger Heli was one of those games that he's actually good at as well, me too, along with Roboton 2084, which I am not great at.
All right, and then Majors writes in Analog NT, which we talked about for the Duo, right? The new Analog Duo that maybe you'll be able to buy or maybe not. He said he's really excited about it, except it has the possibility that it will make TurboGrafx prices even higher, which is true.
Yeah?
Yeah. I complained about stat management in San Andreas, And he said, if you're not a fan of that, then you should stay away from dating sims. And I'm way ahead of him on that. Way, way, way ahead of him on that. And then he asked if I'd like the Koei line of historical simulation games. And I said, no, I do not. I've attempted them. I had one friend back in the day that just loved those games. Really was huge into those. Like any of those Koei games, whether it was like, the set in China, there was like a North versus South one, any of them. But I never understood I understand the point of them. I just didn't like them.
I've never played them.
Yeah, I'm not going to ever pick one, so. I tried to Aerobiz for like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Asks if, so we talked about the Lazy Game Reviews last episode. We posted a link to a video from Lazy Game Reviews. Says maybe we should try and get them on as an interview. I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Print shop. Lots of good print shop memories, like making banners on continuous form feed paper for birthdays. That was like the cool decoration back in the day, and probably anybody that ever used print shop. I have a sealed.
Or when
copy.
you're picking.
Do you have a sealed copy of like Print Shop Deluxe over here? I don't know why.
That's amazing. Yeah. Anytime you pick someone up from the airport, you would print out their name, hold it above your head.
Yeah, but
at least they did that in movies.
Yeah, you put that, or you put like welcome back from prison, and then their name on it or something.
Yeah.
So he replies to a question on social media about Metroid, and I skipped around, so I don't know what the question was. But he says he started Metroid on the NES in the 80s. A friend let him borrow it, but he could not get very far because he kept dying all the time. And then he got his own copy a few years later and got a lot better, and it became one of his favorite games. He did play through Super Metroid just a couple of years ago, and also had a hard time getting into Prime for GameCube. And feedback on our Game Club games. Pole position standard for most arcades back in the day. A few places would use black electrical tape to add 2 to the cabinet, since they only had the upgrade kit, but not the full cabinet. And then he says the Intellivision port is not good, which I agree with. Which is why I didn't play it. And then Thexder, is that the right way to pronounce it?
Yes.
So a friend of his had an IBM XT and a CGA monitor. He says it reminded him a lot of Turrican, but it was really, really brutally difficult. He played the MSX version and incorrectly thought that WibArm was the sequel because it reminded him so much of it. But it apparently is not. So there's another game in the same style. I don't know WibArm.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
Is that the title, WibArm?
Yeah, I have never heard of this game.
Nope. Was this called something else in America? No. For the PC 88 and a bunch of other computers. No, I don't know this game. It is similar artwork, but doesn't appear to be the same. It looks like Zillion a lot to me in the screenshots.
And it came out in the same year too, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can understand because like the robot looks similar, but the gameplay, I mean, it's just not the same. And like you mentioned I think too, it's not the same gameplay style.
Yeah. Thexder, I think, still looks a little better, but that could just be my nostalgia kicking in.
But this is also like that weird era where like sometimes game sequels wouldn't resemble the original game at all.
Yeah, true.
That doesn't happen a lot today, but it was not too uncommon to just basically, I think what happened is they were probably developing a different game and just stuck, like Quake 2, right? That's the most recent example I can come up with. Like Quake 2 was a different game altogether. And then just at the last minute, they renamed it to Quake 2. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And then when you have games like Mario Lost Levels, like no one wanted it. You know what I mean? Not a great game.
Well, yeah, and there you go. Like Pac-Man would pull that too. It's like, hey, let's just make Pac-Man a side-scrolling game now.
Yeah. Dig Dug 2.
Dig Dug 2. That game is so bad.
And there was a sequel to Marble Madness that never got released that's supposed to be very different that I would love to play at some game convention. Any game convention. So that's all he had, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Let's see. We had some social media feedback. Let's see. Oh, we had some cotton feedback here that someone said their friend had an authentic copy of Panorama Cotton on the Genesis, which is kind of the sequel to the one we played.
Okay.
Sold it for like a couple $100 and then bought a fake one from AliExpress for $4. Nice. That's great.
I did not know about this game. Was this, did this get a U.S. release? It must have. I don't remember seeing it in the game store ever, though.
There's a few cotton games.
This is Japan only. This is a Japan only release. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I want to say there's like 4 or 5 cotton games. One's even like a third person, like from behind her back, where you're controlling
that's this one.
The broomstick she's on.
Yeah,
that is that one? Okay.
Yeah, it looks like the bonus stages in Sonic the Hedgehog, sort of.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so I've definitely heard of it, but I never played it.
Lots of Metro 35 feedback here. Someone got one, the yellow label one. That's one thing we didn't mention. There's 2 labels, the black box and the yellow label. So the yellow label is a little bit later. I don't know which one is more desirable now, but they're the same to me.
Probably the original. The second one, I mean, that we had that in the game store like well after the NES was dead. It was like greatest hits packaging.
Yeah.
You know what? We probably still sold a copy a week. I mean, people still like still buy Metroid.
But he says his favorite has to be Super or Zero Mission. And what else? Hoping to finish the original for the first time soon. Love the sound design and the mood. Yeah, it's definitely that mood. It's great. And finishing this game is very rewarding. Mm-hmm. The mother brain fight is just fantastic. Someone else loves the atmosphere and that lonely feel. Yeah, you're just all alone. You have no one. You don't run into any. Like in Zelda, you could go to a store or something, and that doesn't really happen here. You are just alone on this planet.
Yeah.
And what else? Only played Super Metroid a few months ago. Had too much expectation about it. Starts out great, but it's a bit disappointing. Someone else says they played first played Metro Prime, but their favorite Super Metroid. Someone else still haven't beaten the NES version. Curious to see what the dude in the suit looks like at the end. That's funny.
A little bit of trolling, but that's good. That's fine. I will take that answer.
They're saying there's a possibility of a Metroid movie, which I do not think they should do. Don't make Metroid. Don't make Zelda. But what's her name? I actually like her, and I can't think of her name now. She played Captain Marvel in that recent Captain Marvel movie. She's blonde. I don't know.
I've never seen Captain Marvel. I thought Captain Marvel was a dude. I'm sorry.
No, it's female. Anyway, she's a good actress. She's an actual gamer.
I'm thinking Captain America.
No, he's definitely a dude.
Captain America. That's one of the Chris's, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes. But yeah, she would be the person who I'm talking about, which I can't remember their name, and people are probably screaming at their eye.
I don't know. Is it the same one from WandaVision, or is that different?
Different.
Okay.
Different. Yeah. But
yeah, it's weird because as a kid I was all about superhero stuff, and now I cannot tell you like the difference between Marvel and DC and how many movies there are. Just don't know why. I just lost interest in it totally at some point. I think it was Superman 3. I really do.
Really?
Yeah, I think Superman 3, I'm like, man, this stuff's really, really dumb. And I never went back to it.
That was a really bad one, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. Like, do you think it's possible for like one IP to just like make you never want to see a genre again?
It happened to me with The Last Jedi.
Well, see, I liked Last Jedi, but the one after it, like... So I had this conversation with my wife recently because she's a big Star Wars fan. And she had noticed that there was a Clerks 3 coming out. And Clerks 1 is one of my favorite movies of all time because it almost feels like it's a movie about me in some ways. Mm-hmm. And then I started watching Clerks 2, and about like 5 minutes in, I said, yeah, you know what? I don't need to see this. And I just turned it off. And I feel like that was a good call.
That was a good move.
And
Yep.
I told my wife, who's a big Star Wars fan, like, in that last Star Wars movie, what was it called? Rise of Skywalker?
Skywalker, yeah.
Like, when Kylo Ren gets to the planet and, like, the Emperor's alive, we should have just stopped watching at that point. I'm like, you know what? We're good.
Yeah.
That's all the Star Wars that's all of this movie I need to see. And I think our experience would have been better. I actually like The Last Jedi, though.
I can't with that movie. I can't even talk about it. I don't like it that much. And I just want to say that I think the actors were all great. I think it was a very pretty movie. I'm not one of those, there were some hate and racist type people out there that didn't like it for certain reasons.
Yeah.
That's not my reason. Not at all. But I just won't go into it because...
Your reason is the story itself.
Yeah. It's so bad it made The Force Awakens even worse. It brings down other movies with it.
Yeah, that's how I felt about the first 5 minutes of Clerks 2, which is why I turned it off.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And I probably won't go back to finish it. I mean, yeah, the Star Wars, like, I sort of have, like, in my head, like, if someone were to come to me and say, I want to watch the Star Wars series, I've never heard of it, never seen it, could you please recommend it? I would probably just tell them to watch the original 3 movies and The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Maybe
I agree.
Rogue
I totally
One.
agree.
Maybe Rogue One.
Yeah, like, wait a few years to watch Rogue One. Like, let the first few movies sink in a little bit.
And then skip everything. You could just skip everything else. I mean, really, I consider the Star Wars Christmas special to be more canon than The Rise of Skywalker.
Same. Yeah. Ewok Adventures? Sure.
Yeah.
All day long. All day long. And that's our Star Wars podcast.
Yeah.
And Clerks podcast.
And Clerks, yeah. Yeah.
So this is episode 99. So we have episode 100 next, which will be Ask Us Anything Within Reason episode. We already have a ton of questions, which we're excited for. I don't know if we've decided if we're going to do Game Club that
I think
episode.
I think the Game Club stuff we just talked about is episode 101.
Yeah,
Because
I think you're right.
What's
Yeah.
going to happen is if we try to do both, I'm just going to start rushing through everything.
True. Yeah. So it'll be an only questions episode.
People want to contribute before we record this in a few days. How do they do that?
Email at retrogameclub.net. And we will have some giveaways. Zach is giving away a PlayStation Classic Mini, whatever those are called. I'm giving away an AVS FPGA Nintendo Entertainment System. I guess you would call it emulator, but it's FPGA. I don't know if Zach's is used. I don't think it is. I think he still has it in box. My AVS that is part of the giveaway, I literally played once. So it's like new, and it is a fantastic system. Mm-hmm. So we'll pick those at random. And to get into that, just ask us any question.
I feel like I'm slacking because I'm contributing nothing to this. But I don't think I have anything that I'm desperate to part. The problem is I spent a good portion of quarantine, like, getting rid of stuff.
Yeah.
And the stuff in my collection is either down to, like, things I really want to keep or, things that are just worth nothing, and I should just give away to Salvation Army.
Yeah, you don't want to give in the giveaway something people don't want, so that's a good move. But hey, there'll be other giveaways in the future.
Yes, and again, what's the email address one more time?
Email at retrogameclub.net.
All right.
So I think that wraps it
I
up.
think so, too. So thanks for listening.
Thank you.